At this time, I call on NEC Marlon Ronning for the purpose of an introduction.
Here we go.
One of the neat things about being an NEC representing you is I get to meet all these new commanders as they come along in Indianapolis long before you get to meet them. And I've made a lot of good friends with them, and it's always a pleasure to introduce them to you. And this morning we have a leading candidate for National Commander. He was born in Lenore, North Carolina, into a large family of 9. Wow. His father and mother both worked to support the family, and as he learned at an early age, he needed to be independent and self-sufficient. Bill met his wife Frances in 1966. They recently celebrated their 51st wedding anniversary. They have a son, Charles, and a daughter, Jackie. Please give a nice Minnesota welcome to Mr. Bill Oxford.
Please be seated. It's such a tremendous honor for me to be here, and I would like to take just a moment and congratulate Minnesota on the nomination, the selection, and presentation of these awards. That's a great example of the best of our military. And many of you know this, but on active duty you face one set of challenges, but reservists face a unique set of challenges. They've got to interlace their mission with a job and raising a family, and it creates a whole different set of challenges. But yeah, you picked some of the best, so thank you very much for doing that. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to follow that group. But Commander, a few minutes ago you talked about membership, your membership meetings last night.
Yes, sir.
I hope those membership meetings created a little excitement, enthusiasm, and maybe some adrenaline along the way, not just a bathroom bath. But I'll get back to membership in just a few moments. But Commander, thanks again for giving me the opportunity to speak before your conference. It's truly an honor to be here. But before I go too much further along, I gotta find out, how many Marines we got in the crowd? Hoorah! Okay, well, I asked that question for 2 reasons. The first, if I get in trouble, I won't know where my backup is. I won't know who's got my back. But there's another reason. If trouble's going to show up, it's where 2 Marines are together. So y'all need to separate back. But simplify, brothers. I'm with you all the way. But no better friend or worst enemy than a United States Marine. And I go there for a simple reason, because falling in on the yellow footprints at Parris Island, South Carolina in March of 1967 really effectively changed my life. Now, you got to understand where I came from. I was poor white trash from the wrong side of the tracks, even though we didn't have tracks. But I was just a country boy from North Carolina with little or no chance of success till John Grindle gave me the opportunity to enlist in the United States Marine Corps. And I thank God I had that opportunity. But ended up going to Parris Island for boot camp. And boot camp is not about making friends, it's about surviving. Anybody been there knows what I'm talking about. But from Camp Lejeune ended up going, or from Parris Island ended up going to Camp Lejeune. And if anybody's ever been into old wooden barracks, we moved into the World War II barracks, open squad bays, double-deck bunks. And my best friend ended up being, and understand where I came from. My best friend was a big black guy, about 6'5". His name was Moose. And Moose and I we became best friends in just a short period of time. And when I asked Moose, I said, Moose, where are you from? he said, "Oh man, I'm from the city." And many of you will understand this. To me, the city was the next town over that had a stoplight. But when he talked about the things that happened in New York City, that just opened my eyes to a whole new world, and continued my education. Unfortunately, Moose was killed a year later in Vietnam, but he was one of my best buds in the Corps. After Camp of June, went home on leave, got married. Marlon talked about my wife. She's just a terrific young. I'll start to say young guy, but that's not the case anymore. We've been married 51 years. Raised 2 kids along the way. Really proud of my family. Got a son and a daughter. Just outstanding citizens who I'm just extremely proud of. From after I got married, ended up going to Navy Memphis at the Millington Naval Air Station for electronics training. From Millington to Cherry Point, checked into a A6 squadron, started working on the electronics on an A6. We got any A6 guys here? Unusual. Normally there's a 1 or 2. Roger that. From Cherry Point, I ended up at July in the sunny shores of Vietnam. Did my tour in Vietnam. My squadron was transferred from July back over to Iwakuni, Japan for a short period of time. Came home from Iwakuni, ended up getting out of the Corps. Still wonder if that's the right decision 50 or some years ago, but that was the choice I made at the time. 2 months later, after I got out of the Corps, I ended up enlisting in the North Carolina National Guard. Joined the Guard as a Sergeant E5. Eventually ended up going to OCS. Was commissioned in 1973 in the Transportation Corps. And eventually became company commander of that first company I joined, and then later battalion commander of that same battalion. But it was just a tremendous opportunity, because I had to have that military discipline, that organization in my life, and that provided it. So I'm familiar with both sides, the active duty side and the reserve side. Just blessed beyond belief that I had that opportunity. But during that same time, as I worked as a National Guardsman, I also carried a job, and I talked about that a minute ago. Ended up as a plant engineer in a manufacturing plant with a 25-man staff taking care of the maintenance and engineering in this plant. And I mean, we did it all. It was building facilities, electrical, plumbing, pipe fitting, carpenter, painters, the custodians, the whole crowd. And that job taught me one major thing, that every job starts with a plan. And that's the theme of our campaign. You got to have a plan. And when you have a plan, you got to work the plan. The American Legion, we're in the midst of our 100th year birthday celebration, and it's successful. The Legion's doing great work, active. And we've been able to do these things because the Founding Fathers created the framework for this organization, going all the way back to 1919. When we look at the framework and you think about the 4 pillars, Americanism, supporting a strong national defense, our children and youth programs, and supporting America's veterans. That's what the Legion's about. That's what we do. That's who we are. But when we think about the framework of an organization, and this goes back to the plan that I just mentioned, we've got to have the building blocks, the foundation that supports the organization. These building blocks, we can start with the preamble to the Constitution, and they're all just as important. To uphold and defend the Constitution, maintain law and order, foster and perpetuate Americanism. All of those lines in the preamble are part of the building blocks of our foundation. We started with a great framework and a great foundation, but over the years we've added some other blocks to that foundation. And we can look at things like American Legion Baseball. Started in 1926 in South Dakota, and I just saw Larry Price here. Larry, good to see you. Larry's one of my old baseball buddies from the baseball subcommittee. But baseball is probably the largest and most visible American Legion program. And if you look across the nation, about 3,800 teams, and that's 75,000 or so players, and do a little math, 75,000 players times all of the hours that they put into games, practice, the things that they do to prepare for the season. There's a lot of young guys staying out of trouble because of American Legion baseball. Just a tremendous opportunity. And if you look beyond those players, in the major leagues, we have 76 major league players who are in the Hall of Fame who played American Legion baseball. And we just added, I think, 5 this year, Larry, but more than 75 American Legion players are in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Tremendous accomplishment. And I don't know how many people are following the World Series, but there are 9 players each from Boston and the Dodgers who play Legion baseball who are in the Hall of Fame. My wife looked that up night before last night. But that's just a great number and another attribute that the American Legion baseball has to offer. But here's the example. Here's an example of our goal or our task or our mission relating to baseball. In recent years, those teams and number of players have declined as other teams, leagues, and venues, they siphon players away from American Legion baseball. We've got to find a way to reverse that trend. We cannot let that block crumble. Another block of our foundation is the oratorical contest. This past May, a young lady from Kentucky took home $18,000 in a scholarship. This is just a great program that teaches high schoolers how to become better students and learn more about the Constitution. Another block of that foundation is Boys State, Boys Nation, started in 1935 in Illinois, teaching high school students about how government operates. I know North Carolina has a great Boys State program. I know Minnesota has a great program. We got to continue to support, endorse, and make that one of our most visible programs. And here's a couple names of people who graduated from Boys State. People like Bill Clinton, Neil Armstrong, Bruce Springsteen, Scott Walker from Wisconsin, Michael Jordan, Dick Cheney, Bon Jovi, Joe Lieberman, or Chris Christie. Great folks that we've contributed to the growth of our government because of Boys State, Boys Nation. Other outstanding programs that contribute to our American Legion Foundation: scouting, junior shooting, the American Legion charities. North Carolina is seeing the benefit of those charities recently because of the natural disasters caused by hurricanes. North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, all benefit from those charities. We need to continue to support those, and you'll be hearing more about those as time goes along when we are starting or looking to raise money and continue to raise money for those programs. Another block of our foundation is our legislative efforts. Starting right there, raise your hand, Liz. We do a great job in promoting our legislative goals and objectives. Congress wants and needs, and they have to hear from what we want, what we expect, what we need them to support as far as veteran benefits and rights. We've had recent successes going back to last year: the Choice Act, Appeals Modernization, the Whistleblowers Protection Act, the Centennial Coin that we just talked about a few minutes ago. Great blocks of our foundation. And while I'm talking about legislation, please vote between now and November the 6th. That's a responsibility we all have. Please make sure you go out and vote. These programs are all part of the foundation, and we all know that. But block on block, without cement, glue, or concrete, subject to failure, and we know that. That's the foundation, and each one of those blocks are just as important. But, Commander, and I'm going to get back to what we talked about earlier. The most important part of our foundation is the glue, the cement, and the concrete that holds all of those blocks together. And if you look around, you can see what that is. That's the people. That's the glue. That's the concrete. That's the gold that makes it all happen. Without the people, the blocks do not operate. We've got to have the bodies to run, to operate, to maintain, to sponsor, support. those programs. If we go back to the all-time high of American Legion membership, that was about 3.2 million members. In North Carolina, our all-time high was 60,000. This year, the national goal is somewhere about 1.8 million. That's a tremendous difference. In North Carolina, from 60,000, our goal this year is 37,000. Tremendous difference. Over the last few years at the national organization, we are losing about 100,000 people a year to non-renewals, transfer to post-everlasting for whatever reason. In North Carolina, last year at the convention, we transferred 1,000 to post-everlasting. And if you do a little math, 1.8 million divided by losing 100,000 a year, in 18 years, we won't have an American Legion. Now that's pretty traumatic, because I think everybody here knows and understands the value of the American Legion. And I know everybody supports the Legion. But if we, as the American Legion, want to survive another 100 years and maintain our position as the country's largest and most powerful veterans organization, we got to do something about membership. And I can't do it. Your membership chairman can't do it by himself. But it depends on everybody here. And I'm talking to blue hat, red hat, red and white and blue, every color. We've got to have everybody involved in membership. There will be something less than 2 million Legionnaires celebrating our 100th birthday next year. And I could go out on the limb and say not a single one of them was present when the Legion was founded in 1919. And I can be just as sure that nobody here will be here in 100 years when we try to celebrate our 200th birthday. But we have got to reach out, engage the next generation of veterans. Membership's the bond that secures the blocks of our foundation. We've got to stop the slide. And it's easy to say, let Freddie or Joe or Jack or Jim or Ted or whoever, let them handle it. I'm not a membership guy. But will you make the commitment? Will you help me do that? And I know not every Legionnaire is a membership guy. We all have special talents, other talents that contribute to the American Legion. And I know there are Legionnaires who couldn't give away $100 bills. And we know there are Legionnaires out there who could sell ice to Eskimos. That's the people we need on our membership team. But even the Legionnaires who couldn't give away $100 bills know one person that's eligible for the American Legion. If we want to think about the past 100 years and celebrate our legacy, like the Commander Brystad says, we've got to consider what our legacy will be. Our legacy will be the organization that we leave for the next generations. Will we pass along a dying, decaying, sliding organization, or will we pass along a strong, vibrant, growing organization? I can't do it by myself. It's got to be a total team commitment. Will you be the glue that secures the foundation for the American Legion's future and guarantee that we have a 200th birthday? Will you help me do that? God bless America. God bless the American Legion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oxford. I enjoy a Southern accent.
Who's got one?
Well, I find it really easy to fall into that. I was born in Alabama when my dad was in the Army, and hell, you can't even say Alabama without sounding Southern. And, we have a national vice commander this year that's from Mississippi. And I think you've all heard there's been a lot of water problems down there. I don't know how Mississippi floated all the way up to the Midwest, but anyway, the Midwest now has Mississippi as part of it, and our national vice commander's name is Steve Sweet. And of course, with a name like that, everybody calls him Sugar. And Sugar gets up in front of us and says, we're all going to be such good buddies. We're going to call each other all the time, and we're going to get on this membership. We're going to be such good buddies. And I'm not making fun of you, Mr. Oxford. I just love a good Southern accent, and I could live down there easily. I'd fall into it just like that. Our next thing is going to be kind of a little fun thing here, and we're going to take a couple-minute break to get set up for it, but we're going to have Etiquette of a Classic Legion meeting, and we're going to have our Legion Arts actors that were just formed last night perform. So give us a minute to set some chairs around and enjoy. All right, everybody, we're about 10 minutes late, but let's get this meeting going. It's cutting into my recreation time.
Can't get a drink around here? Yeah.
Everybody here? Oh, wait a minute.
Keep 'em coming, Trixie. I'm gonna need a lot of fortification for this meet.
All right, everybody stand up. We'll flag in place, hand salute. Chaplain, will you offer a prayer?
Gentlemen, please remove your headgear. Lord, we pray that we do our best and act like good Lutherans during this meeting. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one, Chaplain. Will the adjutant call the roll?
All right, everybody here who's here say aye.
Aye.
What?
Commander, we have a quorum.
Okay. All right. What do we got down here? Before we get started, say, honey, are you looking for the auxiliary? They need...
No, I don't think so. I'm a veteran, and I'm a member of this post. Shouldn't I be allowed in this meeting?
Well, now, don't get your knickers in a fuzzy here. Of course you can be here, and anything you've got to say, you can just slither on up here to the microphone and express yourself.
Honey, dearie, if I have to slither up to that podium, you'd better make sure your life insurance is paid up.
Where's the sergeant at arms?
Okay, so let's start this minutes here. Mr. Adjutant, will you read the minutes from the last meeting?
I move we dispense with the reading of the minutes. We didn't do anything anyway.
Well, that's why the meeting would be short.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, first order of business is to deal with the bar and restaurant situation.
I'll drink that.
You know we've lost money on that bar every month for a year. Maybe we should increase the prices 50 cents a beer. Sounds kind of low.
What? What are you talking about? This is the only place I can afford to drink. I'll drink to that.
Well, how about the restaurant? Maybe $2 deluxe burgers are a little cheap. Shouldn't we charge what they're worth?
Are you serious? Hell no. This is the only place I can afford to eat.
Well, maybe we should look at other ways of cutting costs.
No, bet on the third horse.
Guys, and lady, I'm sorry. I took some time, I looked at the revenues and the expenses for the restaurant. I noticed that on Monday nights, we have very few customers in here. Maybe we should consider closing down on Mondays. We'd save on the labor, we'd save on the electricity and the other expenses. That alone would make up a bunch of the deficit.
You talking to us?
Take it easy, Jake. Maybe the kid's onto something.
I don't think so. You know, we already tried that back in 1978, and it didn't work out then. A lot of our members didn't like it, especially Jake.
Well, gentlemen and lady, with all due respect, I think we should try it again.
I agree. I think it's a great idea. We've got to do something to save the operation.
Listen here, Missy. Don't be getting all uppity with us.
Yeah, where do you two think you are? We've been running this post for 50 years, and we got a lot of experience here.
Yeah, you know, we fought for our country, and now we run this post, and we've done a hell of a good job.
Okay.
Who do you think we're trying to tell us what to do? Maybe you should go around the block a few times.
Well, we're all veterans too. We also served. We just think it might be time for some new ideas. Some new ideas might help bring in some of the newer, younger veterans too. Here, Mr. Commander, I'd like to give you a copy of what I looked up here and what I've got written.
Whoa, do it! Did you just see that? He broke the colors, guys.
Cripes. Now I've seen it all. You just walked up there and broke the colors.
Don't they teach these guys anything anymore?
I call for the question. I want to vote.
Commander, we don't have a motion on the floor.
All in favor say aye. Aye! Motion is carried.
I really don't care. Let's vote again.
Whatever.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll have to read the minutes and see if we can vote again. Okay, all right, never mind. Let's settle down. Maybe we should move on to something else. I think we've solved the problems with the bar and the restaurant. Next on the agenda is what color should we paint the 4th of July float this year?
Well, I think we should paint it red. With all that Kavanaugh stuff going on, I think everything should be red. Red right on down the line.
Yeah. Red. Well, I think you are red. Just like your good old buddy Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, that sounds good. Hey, Trixie, how about another one? Settle down. Take it easy.
You know, you guys got to settle down. You're not acting like good Lutherans.
Okay. I think we've
Let's settle down
settled.
because, you know, we're not supposed to talk about politics or religion at these meetings.
Okay. I think we've settled the float issue. That's all we had on the agenda for tonight. I think we did a good job taking care of business.
Wait a minute, Commander. What about Boys State and Legionville?
Yeah, how about those scholarships we're supposed to be talking about? We got to talk about that dugout for the baseball team.
Geez, we talked about that stuff before. I'm out of here.
All right, I think we did a good job. Well, the colors in place, hands loose. Two. All right, meeting adjourned. First round's on me. Ladies and gentlemen, our Legion Arts performer. The whole purpose of this is to build a little bit of discussion here. I don't think sometimes this is so far-fetched from what a real Legion meeting goes like sometimes, and we would just like to get some comments from the audience, get a little feedback here. Kind of look at the starting times of meetings and proper order of procedures and drinking at meetings and women veterans, younger veterans, including new veterans in the meetings, and politics and religion, and talking about the heart of the Legion programs, breaking the colors. How should the members react? Calling questions out of a parliamentary procedure, and what is the goal of a Legion meeting? And so we're just looking for some feedback. We have our actors here that'll be part of the panel. And yes, Missy.
You know, somebody came up, Bishop Williams came up and said, that was funny, but too realistic. It is too realistic. And for me personally, I've had that experience. I had that experience. Are you ready for your mouse to drop? Not in your post, not here at a district function. I had it at a national convention. And not only at a national convention, I had it when I was going in to help run a national committee. And I walked in the room with my hat on, with my jacket on, everything Legion logo, and one of the gentlemen sitting in there goes, ma'am dear, your meeting, the ladies' meetings are down the hall. And of course, anybody who knows me says, I'm wearing this hat and I'm running this meeting. Sit down and shut up. It's a true fact. That's the sad thing. That's the sad thing.
How about our drunken veteran there? I mean, this was a real stretch for me. We had to really talk him into it because he didn't know how to act that way.
I learned from the best.
Good morning, my name is John Grams. I'm from the 4th Division. I was in the 4th Division also. No, it was a very good skit, and I'll go along with it to a point. And you got us old guys, we're sitting back here, and you're all saying that all we done was go to a meeting and get drunk. How in the hell, for years and years, did us old guys build all of these Legion posts throughout the state of Minnesota? And another thing that we done was up until a couple of years ago, we got all-time high and we got gold for the state of Minnesota, year after year after year. And I'd like to tell you, when I joined you, you know, I come into Legion 54 years ago. I got a job on Ray Street. I was a barber. And I went to work there, and the guy said, say, were you in the service? I said, yeah, I was in the service. He said, well, to work here, you got to join the American Legion. That's fine. I joined the American Legion. I went to the first meeting. And at that meeting, believe me, there was about half veterans of this place right now. That place was full. So me and my buddy sat down up front, and an older gentleman came there, and I'll never forget him. It was Mr. Frank Lear, World War I commander. He came over and he said to us guys, what are you guys doing here? I said, well, I was joining the Legion. He said, what war were you in? I said, I was in Korea. Korea? He said, what the hell? That was no war. That was a conflict. He said, I'll tell you guys something. He said, you go way in the back there, and as years go by, you look yourself up here. So the little guy stood up and he said, I'll tell you something, Commander. Someday John and I are going to run this place. He said, that's fine, but you sit back there until you get up here, then you can run it. I always, no matter what veteran came home, the ones that came home first were always running down the ones that came after. And I'll tell you something, there's nothing greater than the American Legion. And I have a pin, Commander Red Penny, that your dad gave me when he was Department Commander. I'll give it to you someday. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for your comment. It wasn't meant to be anything personal to anyone out there, and this just kind of shows the evolution as he spoke. You know, when he came into the American Legion, it was the same thing. You know, the older folks were looking down on him. That wasn't a conflict. I know for a lot of us Vietnam veterans, it was the same thing. I was actually asked to leave my post once years ago because my hair was too long. See, I don't have that problem anymore. But you know, this is kind of the evolution of the American Legion, and I don't know if it just is human nature for us to look at the older people and you know, blame them or whatever, but this is a part of why we did this skit today, is to show you some of those. And we welcome any comments. Mr. Ludwig.
I want to say, this was not an attack on the senior Legionnaires or the new Legionnaires. This is going on today, and we're grateful to the senior Legionnaires because we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you.
You could use a little trim around the side.
Yeah, I know. I talk to my wife. She's my barber these days.
A veteran is a veteran is a veteran is a veteran. Many of us here experienced in our early years where the old guard necessarily weren't all that friendly and receptive to you when you were a young veteran. We need to get past that. If I'm 25 years old in today's world and I walk into a Legion post and you want to treat me like I'm in kindergarten and you want me to sit in the back of the room and shut up for the first 20 years that I'm going to be there, I'm going to tell you I'm not going to be there in 20 years. I'm going to be out the door. Now, there's a whole lot of young veterans that are very busy in their world, but I maintain that if you seek them out and you sit down with them, treat them as an equal, explain to them the value of membership in American Legion, invite them to join, listen to their stories, listen to their ideas. In other words, you develop a bond, a partnership, a mutual respect between age and experience and youth and enthusiasm. It'll work well for you. Will they come in by the thousands, by the hundreds, by the dozens? Probably not. But just think if you got 3 or 4 young, enthusiastic veterans. Some of us are getting a little tired, a little long of tooth. And wouldn't it be fun to have a cadre of young veterans who are excited, who have energy that has left many of us? There are some posts that have done this very well. And these posts are successful. Their membership is growing, their programs are flourishing. But the harsh reality is they're in the minority of those posts. I maintain that there's some posts that are actually hostile to that young veteran. And we kind of saw it in this meeting here, this skit. And there's some posts that are indifferent. The new veteran doesn't have time for all that. They are veterans. Some of them have served 3, 4, 5 tours in very nasty places. We need to embrace them all. We need to make them part of us. They need us, and we need them. When we all do that, our membership slide will stop. So that's what I would hope that we all can do. And in my own post, now we're not, we are by no means in any way hostile to young veterans, but yet on the other hand, we haven't had wonderful successes yet either, but we will keep trying until we are successful. And I invite all of you to do the same. God bless. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commander, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Alan Lund. I'm from Osseo Post. And yesterday I was at the Hennepin Technical College. And I had asked for an opportunity to talk to veterans that go to school there. There's 300 veterans that go to school there. And they had a monthly meeting, and they had free pizza, and 2 veterans showed up. So that was disappointing. The 2 young veterans were there, and one of them belongs to the VFW, and I thanked her for that. And I said, so have you thought about joining the Legion? And she said, yes, I have. And I said, so why haven't you? And she said, you know, she said, the buzz among my fellow aged veterans is that the Vietnam people don't regard us as they regard themselves, that they kind of look down on us. And I said, well, you know, I'm not disagreeing with you, but the Vietnam veterans, when they came back, they weren't always treated well. So I said, it's very disappointing to hear that they would then turn around and do that to someone else. So I said, we appreciate that feedback, and I will take that back. And then one of the other veterans was talking, the other veteran, and talking about somebody at my post that is a younger veteran, and she said, he turned to her and said, he's one of us. Now, in meaning that he's a good guy. And it wasn't a slam against me. I kind of like, well, you know, we're all in this together. When we served, we're all in this together. But those are just two things that came out of that meeting I had, and I'm going to keep trying to go back there because they're really trying to get their people involved. But it's going to be an issue, and anybody that's got young people in their posts to help them with these issues, because they clearly they don't identify with a person like me of my age, but they really do identify with people of their own age and their own what they consider to be their own particular experiences. So I just wanted to write that.
Thank you very much. I think through the generations, the younger vets have always been tough to get on board, you know, so this certainly isn't a new experience to us, but we too, I knew you were going to do that, and I'm glad to hear the report on it. At our Anoka post, we've been working with the Anoka Ramsey Community College. We found out last year there's 450 young student veterans going to school there, and we've made some contacts with them, maybe a little bit too much, so I'm their speaker for Veterans Day. But so far we've got some interest, and the interesting thing about young students, I'm sure 99.9% of them are going to school on the GI Bill, and absolutely none of them have any idea how the GI Bill came about. They think it's just something that the government gave to them, and that's always been there. And we're trying to inform them that the government doesn't give you anything, and that many of these benefits are hard fought for, and they're fought from veterans organizations like the American Legion. Anybody else got any comments? Yes, sir.
Commander, my name's Tony Loescher. I'm Post 92 Commander out of Rochester. I wanted to elaborate on what past Commander Pancake had said about embracing all veterans. I know I'm going to piss some people off with this comment, and I don't care because I care about the American Legion. I am a vocal or outspoken in my post at the district level. When we embrace all veterans, we have to embrace the LGBTQ community. They are veterans. We have to embrace Muslims. Muslims are not our enemy. They are veterans. They are serving right along us. We have to embrace it. All the comments in the posts about these things, it turns people away. Secondly, look at us right here. We have a few women veterans, but there's no women here. We have the auxiliary meeting in a separate spot. My girlfriend is the president of our unit in Rochester. We question, why do we do everything separate? We talk about family, but we don't do anything together. It's just a load of talk. That's all it is. Younger veterans want to do things. We're here for a conference for a couple days. Why don't we go and paint a veteran's house, rake leaves, do something to help the community instead of sitting here listening to all sorts of stuff. Most of this information I could get on the internet. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Jeremy, we have to be back.
In response to the Rochester Commander's statement and comments, we come here because we care, but
My problem with this American Legion is rallies. That's where we should be painting a veteran's home, raking somebody's leaves, instead of introducing everybody that we already know.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay. All right, we'll get to you in a second.
Mr. Commander, I think everybody can hear me. I'm Marvel August, I've been for 63 years. I've gone through I don't know how many national conventions. Every time I go someplace, I learn something new. Right now, we have got the county veteran service officer coming into our post on the 3rd Tuesday of every month. I couldn't make it to stay last week. So I told him, I said, I hope to see you next month. When I walked out of that door, there was 2 veterans that were walking into that door. I don't know what they wanted, but I think maybe that's one way we can get started to get these people to know what the region is all about and what our county serves up. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you, Art. Yes,
Hi,
sir.
Commander. I'm Roland Hanson from the 1st District, and I believe in the 4 pillars. I believe in the 4 pillars of the American Legion, and it's education. If you take and get a book on 4 pillars, some of them, can anybody name all 4 of them? I couldn't. I couldn't name the 4 pillars, but there's the education that we need. And that tells us what the American Legion can do for us. But in turn, we got to go around and help the American Legion. So, but education is going to get the new people in. I hope we do. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Roland. Yeah, we can no longer be the best kept secret. You know, I think sometimes as Legionnaires we're a little bit humble, and you know, we're brought up that way that you're not supposed to blow your own horn, but we're losing membership badly, folks. It's time to blow your own horn. You know, it's time to make sure everybody knows what's going on in the American Legion.
Mr. Commander, recently I was talking to a friend of mine, and I asked him if he was going to be at the fall conference. Now, this is a younger veteran who's gainfully employed. And he said no, because the American Legion is not friendly when it comes to meetings with our gainfully employed veterans. I know a few years ago, they tried doing it on a Saturday and Sunday. They only did it for a couple of years. And then they said, it didn't work. So they went back to the old way. They went back to 1978, as we said earlier in the skit. I really think that we have to look seriously at when we have our conferences and when we have our department conventions. And I totally agree with Ms. Davis. You know, driving from northwestern Minnesota down to Faribault, for example, takes a lot of gas, and it takes a hotel room, and it takes additional meals. It's getting expensive to come to all of these things. I can't afford it anymore. You know, well, anyway, we're going down a different road now. But anyway, I think we should again look seriously at changing our meeting dates.
Actually, Dennis, I think we are looking at that. Isn't department convention? Aren't we back to a Saturday, Sunday format, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Go back to the convention.
Yeah, someone from the Convention Corporation want to address that? Aren't we going back to a weekend format? Any of them here?
Yeah, Al Davis.
Al?
Not really a member of the corporation. I am the treasurer, but not a member of a voting member of the corporation.
You'll do.
But the dates, the dates that we have been bid, or the bids that have come in, have not included a Friday or a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I would just like to comment though that one of the problems that we have with going to the weekend is the room rates jump up dramatically when we go stay overnight Saturday night. And one of the complaints we continually get is the room rates are too high. So if we book during the week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or a Friday, Saturday, or Wednesday night through Friday night, the room rates are generally lower. And there may be a trade-off because you may get more people to come because it is on a weekend. There may be a trade-off and they don't mind paying a little bit extra. But that's always one of the considerations when we're looking at dates and when we're going to do it is the room rates, because when you get up to $100, $120 a night, people start to get a little shy about paying that kind of money to stay overnight there. So I certainly think it's something that should be looked at, and I don't know where all the members of the corporation went, but I know that the president, Mr. Logan, is going to be giving a report sometime during the course of it, and let's raise the question with him.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
I saw someone earlier. Over there. Oh, over there. Okay.
Commander Gary Richardson, Post 507, 3rd District Sergeant at Arms and past commander for my post. As everybody knows, when it comes to our new members, and this comes from personal experience. I was a young guy. I'm still a young guy at my post, believe it or not, at 61. The mentorship when I came in was not there. Okay, we had a lot of the old guard that were still running the post, and I was a little snot-nosed brat that came in, and I have a tendency of pushing my way when I want something. Okay, first year I was there, I was put in Sergeant at Arms. The second year, they made me the commander. 2 years in the American Legion. After 20 years in the Air Force, I didn't know what the American Legion was. When I met my wife, she said, if you're going to be married to me, you're going to be a Legion member. And everybody knows my wife. You guys know my wife. She's past auxiliary president, Terry. Anyway, within that first 6 months that I was commander, I didn't know what was going on. Nobody was helping me. They were going to the coffee shop in the morning of the meeting, setting their agenda, and then coming into the meeting and shoving it down my throat. And I finally got mad. I came home, I was so pissed. My wife looked at me and says, every post in the state of Minnesota has a charter and a set of standing rules. And they're open to every member of the post. She said, go get them. And shove them back down their throat. And that's what I did. We were in a meeting. I had a sergeant at arms that had to step down, so I appointed another guy as sergeant at arms. And one of the old heads says, who in the hell gave you the authority to do that? And I flipped the standing rules open. I said, paragraph here, sentence here, number blah, 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 and I read it to him verbatim, and I said, didn't you write this? If he could have ground his teeth any harder, he would have ground them to a nub. But from that point on, it was yes, commander, no, commander. What can I do for you, commander? So we have to mentor these people. My wife mentored me because she had a lot more experience with the American Legion than I did at that point in time. She's taught me a lot. And that's what we need to do with our young members. We need to teach them, we need to show them the ropes, and show them where the rules are. Once they know the rules and how the American Legion is run, they're better prepared to step into these other roles. I am so proud to be part of this organization, and glad to be here today. Thank you, Commander.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Mr. Commander, I'm Karen Obar from the 6th District, Bertha.
Telephone, microphone.
My comment is to go back to getting the younger members in. I'm one of the younger members in my post. I'm also the commander. This is going to go back to, I'm going to guess that most of you were farmers growing up, yes? Hands? No? None of you were farmers?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you were all farmers and you came back and you joined the American Legion, you had to make time for that. You made time for it in your busy schedule of farming. I grew up on a dairy farm. My dad was a farmer. So he made time for the Legion. So you all made time for the Legion, even though you had a 24-hour-a-day job. I made time for the Legion because, and somebody mentioned mentoring. I had good mentors in the Legion. When Harold Dept drove up my driveway, that was my mentor. So I had a good mentor. He mentored me all the way from my membership director, and then he passed on, and then my commander mentored me into becoming commander. I still have good mentors in the American Legion. I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for my mentoring. We're not going to get people my age in if we don't mentor them. But the older generation has to be willing to do that. But I still have a lot of people in my post that are part of the good old boy system. And the one person that says there are no females here, they're not. We're all veterans. But a lot of the good old boys will place me, well, let's let the women go first. I'll be like, I'm wearing the same hat as you. Please don't place me in a separate category, or I'm going to walk out that door. And I'm your commander. Well, you know, I'm just that way. Well, you need to step out of that box and step into my circle or my triangle, because you're setting yourself up for failure. Because she could be a veteran, she could be a veteran, but you're not going to know. If she's walking around, because I'll walk to Walmart. If they're wearing that hat that says Korean veteran or Vietnam veteran, I'll walk up to them and I'll say, thank you for your service. But I'm not going to say, walk past the female that's wearing the same hat and not thank her. But it's all up to mentorship on my part and the older person's part also. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, you know, to be fair about it, I think our lady veterans have a little tougher time with it than even the younger veterans do, and that's been one of the things that I've been trying to address this year. When I was in the Army, I was a surgical technician, and I worked with a lot of wonderful nurses and technicians. So you know, some of my fellow soldiers were ladies, and I know a lot of them don't feel welcome in the American Legion because I still keep in touch with some of them, and I've heard it firsthand. So, but yet, you know, my experience with the women veterans, especially the ones in the American Legion, is when they get involved, they're all in. They're all in. I mean, no, seriously. When the ladies get involved, they want to take on leadership positions. They want to be part of committees, and I think they bring an awful lot to the table. And so for some of us old folks out there that still hold that bias, you might want to rethink that one.
Phone violation.
Phone violation. Thank you very much. I'll go to my project. Anybody else? Any other comments?
Clyde Mueller here from the 1st District. I'm in kind of a unique situation. I joined the Legion 23 years ago. 22 years ago, I got elected as Sergeant at Arms for the post. I've been active ever since, been commander many times, many years in a row. I have a very young group with me right now. The oldest person that I have as an officer is my vice commander, and he's 86 years old. My youngest is our adjutant, and she's 30 years old. In between that, most of us are in our 50s. Some of them are only 2- and 3-year members. I do not know how they got active with me other than the fact that I have went out in the community, talked, and done what I can do to promote the American Legion the best way that I can. I bring in new members, and I ask them to be active with me, if they will. A lot of them will. Our color guard and honor guard is made up of 90% of us right now are between the ages of 60 and 40, which is awful great. It's hard during the week, but on weekends or late afternoons, I can get plenty of help. So the younger members are out there, And I come from a real small community of 3,000 people. But some of us younger members need to also get out there and do the talking and walking. Because they hear from the older ones, and as soon as they go to a meeting, they're like, well, I brought up this idea, and they turn around and tell them, well, it didn't work 20 years ago, so we're not going to do it. And you have to be very persistent to make it work. I honest to God have to say, I have to thank everybody here. I got to go to Legion College in 2004, and that really made me wake up. I remember I got up and spoke in front of everybody, and they asked, what do you think about your post? Is it an active post or an inactive post? And at that time, I was probably the youngest member of our post of 140 members. And I was active. And I said, we're very inactive. I said, all we do is Boy Scouts, Legion School Patrol, and I said, we do military funerals. I said, that's all we do for the community. And I can't remember the national commander at that time. I know he's passed away, he's from Michigan. Cadmus, there you go. He stood up and he looked at me and he says, you're wrong, Mr. Mueller. He said, that's an active post. You're not inactive. And I think some of the younger people don't realize that it's the older ones that are carrying the cross, so to speak. But they don't know, can I step in and help them out or not? Because there's been a time or two where they've got their teeth kicked in. And I guess I'm too stubborn. I'm an old German, just stubborn. But believe me, the American Legion, I am very happy and honored to be a part of and do everything that I can. And I want more younger veterans, especially female veterans, to get involved with us too. It makes a big difference when we all operate as a family. Like these guys that we just seen here, reservists of the year and everything. Think what we are doing right now with them. I talked to many of them afterwards, and they were like, we cannot believe this group. Those are our futures, and we need to promote that hard. One group was from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I give her one of my cards. She said, can I call you? She said, if somebody over in Adrian or something's got some issues. I said, you're darn right, because I said, I can make phone calls and talk to anybody out here that will help. So like I say, us younger veterans, we need to keep stepping up and make the difference. It's hard at times. We have to be very bullheaded and keep nudging ahead. But believe me, I honestly got to thank this great organization, and I believe we can turn this membership around. Thank you.
Thank you, Gun.
Commander Randy Olson, 2nd District, past commander, Post 82. My comment here is everything that this skit has produced has been the greatest thing I've heard coming out of this. One of the things I want to ask the department is, you know, you get into a lot of politics. One of the politics we have is what we have for expenditures and what we request for money for every year. One of the things that we need to do in our district, in our department, is we need to invest in software. I don't care if the software isn't available. I don't care if the software isn't in the budget. I will find a way to raise money to put the software in the department's hands if it takes that much. But the new software, what I'm asking for, is the reason that we need to get involved with anything that has to do with the internet with these young soldiers. I'm actually currently putting in new members between 21 and 30. Every day I'm trying. In doing so, they have their phone out every minute of the day, and I tell them about mylegion.com. I tell them about everything at the Legion. I tell them about Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. I tell them about Operation Comfort Warrior. They're all interested in it. They pull it up. They get it on their phones. And I said, would you consider honoring us by joining? They whip out their debit card. They whip out their credit cards. They want to join right there, right then. That's your chance. That's your chance. That's your chance to solidify the membership. I've talked to our membership from the department, Mike Max, and there's a thing called a square that adapts to your phone. If we get this new software, I think all it takes is Microsoft 10. We can add this software to put that square on your phone, You can take that guy's, or gal's, sorry, credit card, debit card, swipe it across there and have their membership immediately put in. That passed. Everybody out here can be a membership person. You know somebody out there that's not a member. Don't leave it up to your membership chairmans to do all the work. They're there to support your post, but you are the membership person, so go for that. And one other thing I have to say is that I had a post that had a female commander, veteran, made commander, and she worked for almost a year. Everything she did was to better that post. The members were the good old boys. They pushed her out. They started doing meetings before she got there, before the scheduled time. So when it came time for she bring up all the things in order to get the projects or the work done for the night in the meeting, they all said, well, we've already discussed that, it's all taken care of, over. She left that post. She actually was going to transfer into 1982. Don't care, just be a Legion member because she's so fed up with it. That's fed up with us. So what I'm saying is that it took me quite a few times to talk to her one-on-one. I found her a post that was willing to take her immediately. She's in that post. She's became active. She's now an officer in that post. And I can't thank her enough for all the work she's doing underneath the 2nd District. But that's what it takes, is we need to let everybody do their job. Let these new younger ones, if you want to mentor somebody, take a young veteran right now that you join in, tell them that you want them to help with membership. You let them go side by side with your post-membership person, and let them, the post-membership, train them on how the old way is. Then he gets trained in on the new way. You work together as a team, and then you do a membership team with a new veteran and an older veteran, the Legion members. It's working out there, so please just use that knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Good morning. Ralph Schneekloth, serving as the 1st District Vice Commander and as well as serving as the Chair of the Department of Public Relations Committee. A big deal in the American Legion overall is that there's always room for improvement in how we communicate. Communicate laterally, communicate up and down the chain. And unfortunately, in way too many instances, it's not being addressed. We're only going, if we can't talk amongst ourselves effectively, how are we going to talk to others? These are, it's not problems, these are opportunities to excel. And you can also say, well, it's just an exercise in semantics. Perhaps. But if your heart is in it, and our heart is in it, and coupled with why do you serve? Why are you here? Well, what's your why? What was last year? Why do we do what we do? I'm not here for myself. I'm here to better the organization. I'm a standard, not so much a standard bearer, but steward, caretaker, keeping it, moving it forward, adding the positive aspects, the elements of leadership that we bring to the organization to make it better. I served last year as the department chaplain. It was a rigorous year. It was wonderful. It was one of the best experiences ever in my life. How do we move forward? It's I'm part of the Legion. We have the commander, we have the membership, and then we have the rest of us. And if you're not a commander, vice commander, or membership, you really don't count in the big scheme. Yet, until we make that change in heart, and bring the entire team on the field, because everyone is a recruiter. Everyone has the ability. You know, to say it's our responsibility. We have the ability to do this. You have God-given talents, and each of us has unique God-given gifts. How do we use them best to serve the organization? And Randy, as I didn't get the public relations time, so haha. We move forward together as a team, as a family, identifying and developing those who are coming after us and making the organization better. And my final thing is projecting growth. One thing that we do not do anytime, anywhere, is project growth. We do not plan to grow. The battle is lost before it's even fought.
I'll get it right behind you.
And we go through fulfilling Einstein's definition of insanity annually, which is doing the same thing the same way every year and expecting a different result. We have to resolutely and confidently plan for growth and execute the mission. That's the only way it's gonna happen. I got a business sign, shows all the graphs, everything's down to the right, and the board's sitting there, and they're saying, well, what if we don't change anything and something magical happens? It's there, we all have the ability to make it better. How do we move forward with that? Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
Jennifer Hadlick, and I'm going to take off this hat because what I'm going to say to you doesn't matter what color your hat is. I joined this organization because my father was a veteran, and when he came home, he wasn't treated well. And when I was asked to join this organization, I joined to make sure that that never, ever happened again. And that I told him I wanted to make it right. He told me, you can't. I said, but I can try. Now, I look around this room, and I see people who are willing to try and willing to work. But honestly, I spent the last 5 years on public relations trying to get you all to smile, to look like you're enjoying your participation in the American Legion. I could show you pictures of people. So when you're out, and so much when we're in here it probably doesn't matter much, but when you're out in the public, don't just walk the walk, talk the talk. The national recruiter wears her blue cap everywhere. Everywhere she goes is like a fixture on her head. And she's right, because people ask the question. I was at a gas station, and I still had this on, and I had my cap on. I was pumping gas in my car, and he goes, were you just at that? I don't even remember what event it was. I said, yes, sir, I was. He says, well, thank you for doing this. I said, well, thank you, sir, for your service. Are you a member? He said, yes. I said, oh, good. So they asked the questions. Civilians are going to ask the questions, why are you wearing that hat? And that's when you can start the conversation about what we do and why we do it. And why we do it is so important. And you have to actually look as though you're enjoying doing it. Because if you don't, no one's going to want to join an organization where everybody's, what is this going to be over? Are we done yet? Are they finished talking? They're talking to us like we're third graders. Well, you know, I know third graders smile more than we do. So when you get out there, enjoy yourself. Be proud that you're a Legionnaire. Know your stuff. Have your elevator speech. And make sure you talk passionately about something you know well. If you talk passionately about an issue, you'll draw people in. If you're like, oh, I'm a Legionnaire and I gotta go to a meeting tonight and they're just gonna decide nothing and oh my God, and I can't. People hear that stuff. They see the look on our faces and they say, why would I want to join an organization where everybody's going, oh God, do I really need to do this now? And so, Lord, help me. These youngsters just don't get it. And then we say the old timers, oh, they're such a pain in the ass. They never let us die. Honestly, I hear that. And as a female veteran, you're standing around and they look at you like, and what do you want? Yeah. I'm like, well, I must be doing it right because I got a cute cat, different colors. So, and believe me, I come from a post where I'm the only woman who attends meetings ever. And I'm probably the youngest member who attends meetings ever. So smile, enjoy yourself, be glad you're a Legionnaire, encourage your auxiliary members. One quick question. Who here is married? Raise your hand. Who's married? And this is a male veterans question. If you're married, are your wives a member of the auxiliary?
Yes.
Everybody? You don't have anybody in here whose wife's not an auxiliary?
Yeah, me.
Why not?
My wife is antisocial. She is.
So is my husband. So is my husband. You've never met him. He's a Legionnaire. Continue.
It ain't gonna happen.
I would sign her up and then just hand her the benefits thing and say, look all the things you get to go shopping for. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks and congratulations on your cute hat. Yes, Paul.
Paul Edwards, post 627 out of Nisswa. Before anybody finds me for not wearing a cap, I've been one order hasn't arrived yet. comment about mentorship. Those of you that are holding an office, whatever kind, whether it's post, district, department, national level, how many of you think you're still going to be holding the office at the next centennial?
I do.
Okay, second part of the question, are you working on finding your replacement? Are you looking at the post? Are you looking at the district? Are you looking at the department? Are you looking for your replacement? If you're not mentoring. That's what mentoring is all about. You find your replacement, you find someone that has passion, that has enthusiasm, that will get out there, that's semi-smart, that will get out there, and you think they can do your job following on behind you. Okay? I've got a district commander. He said, yeah, I think you can do the job. Okay? The other thing, introduce an issue. We as Legionnaires need to use absolutely every tool there is for communication. How many in this room have an email address that you use frequently? Raise your hand.
What's that?
There's an issue. That's the latest and greatest there is that's available to every one of us, email. Okay? If you're not using it, you're missing out on a communication link. Okay? It's fast, it's immediate, you can write one note and send it to 40 people that fast. I know, I do it. Okay? It's a communication tool that we need to be using. Randy talked about software, I looked around the room, and it's like absolute blank stares. What? What? Software? What's that? Something you put on toast? No, it's a way to implement communication on a computer. That's what it's for. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Deanne Ford, female veteran. I have to say, thank you, I'm from Post 577. I'm also the commander there. First off, I want to thank Lane, personally, District 4 commander, because he has been a fantastic mentor for me. I think in our post, we have a lot of that stuff that a lot of you are talking about, because I've never felt out of place, quite frankly. And I love the Legion, I love what we do. But I have a question for our leadership here, and this is a sincere question. When Jennifer was up here talking, she said how many of your wives are in the auxiliary, and I heard somebody out there say, is your husband in the auxiliary? And I have to tell you, that's a great question. A friend of mine is in the Army. She's a commander of a VFW unit, and her husband is not military, never has been. And he and a few other males are in their auxiliary. And I personally come from a military family. We're all military, so we're all Legionnaires. However, I have female friends who are married to non-military, non-veterans, who cannot, they won't actually join the Legion because they don't feel like there's any place for them. Okay, I know maybe they can join the Sons of the American Legion, but I guess my question is, why can't men be in our auxiliary? And maybe you don't have that answer, or I don't know.
No.
Thanks, Randy.
Because we've always done it this way.
Well, that's not good enough.
I agree.
Sir, rules.
As one of my mentors sits in the front row, and I'm just going to point out, and he knows that we have this conversation from time to time. All of us ourselves have to look at ourselves, because we catch ourselves saying,
Why?
We've always done it that way. And we're at the same time we're telling somebody else, quit saying that. We got to change. Daryl, we got to change the way we do this. We can't keep doing it the same way. And then you come in and say, should we have a male auxiliary? Well, no, we can't do that. We can't have that male auxiliary because we've never had one. And give me a few minutes and I'll think of a few really good reasons why we shouldn't have one. And again, we have to get outside of that box. Somebody has said it before. And maybe that's something that would cause our younger veterans to say, oh, if they're inclusive now of my husband, maybe you'll see a lot more women sitting in here if their husbands were members of an auxiliary. I don't know. But that's maybe one way that we can look at a big issue as an organization a big issue and maybe say, maybe we won't do it the same way we've always done it. But then again, there's constitutions and there's bylaws and there's things that sometimes changes affect, and that's one thing too, when people say, hey, departments should do this. Well, okay, if we do that, we gotta break up, okay, the our bylaws state that, how that's gonna affect. So everything kind of connects together. And that's why you see people will also say, how come we don't change the dates? Well, it took until this past year before we really got a resolution that was strong and thorough at the national level to address that, because it affects so many things. And oftentimes it's just easier to say, we've always done it that way. I don't want to change everything because it's too hard to research all those rules and regulations to see which ones it affects. So to answer that question, you're right on. I, as an administrator at the department level, agree with you. But this keeps getting in our way, sometimes our own way. We ourselves put it out there, and it's hard not to.
No, I agree with you too, ma'am. And in fact, in my travels around the state this year, that question's been posed to me several times, and just like Randy says, I don't have a good answer for it. We do have other service organizations that do offer a meal auxiliary.
I'm just saying, why is there a difference? Why don't we just have an auxiliary? That's another organization we have is an auxiliary.
And the easy answer is, they're another organization. We can't go there. They have to go there.
Well, let me just say this. I'm getting ready after I leave here to fly to Indianapolis for Legion College. And one of the pre-assignments that we have to do is write a resolution. Now, my first resolution was to do what you're talking about. Nudge the auxiliary and give them a clue that we would accept if they wanted to do that. And I was like, well, we can't do that. We could, but we shouldn't. So then I changed the resolution and made a program much like the Sons of the American Legion, and created a Spouses of the American Legion.
There you go.
So that they can come in regardless of whether they're man or woman or man, woman, so that we could have an organization right here with us that would invite our spouses, but that would also allow them to attend with us, just like our SALers attend to do most of the stuff with us, without intruding on, and I'm an auxiliary, so I know, without intruding on the other organizational predilections to just be all women. So I'm not a stupendous writer of resolutions, and I'm sure they're going to help me fix that, but that's the one that I put up there. So if you're thinking about that, it's an easy program to, yeah. And I got the idea from, because it's been all over Facebook, women want to know how they can get their husbands involved. So I took it and said, oh, okay, well, we can start a program. We don't need to shadow the earth and every foundation we have to start a program that includes people who will come alongside us and take our, and help us do our job. So look for that in the future.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna take one more, and then we're getting low on time here. But
Commander,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm Ryan Hill from Post 64, 2nd District, currently serving Sergeant at Arms. I would like to recognize all the blue hats in the room. Would you please stand? Because if it isn't for the blue hats, the skunk hats, I call them, the white hats, the red hats, we don't have a job if we don't have the blue hats.
Well, thanks everybody for getting up and saying a few words. This is exactly what we were trying to do with our little skit today, and we also have to thank our playwright down here, Al Zidane. This was, he created all the roles for us. We just read the parts. So thanks, Al, for doing that. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope maybe you learned something. You know, it's always great when we get people standing up and addressing their concerns on the subject. So at this time, we're going to, yes, sir.
The membership meeting will be right over here on the right side of the room. The meeting followed the gavel. Thank you.
All right, we're yes, sir.
Real quick, Commander. Funds for Hospitalized Veterans meeting will also meet right around my area, right when this this convenes. And then also just if you could be prompt back here at 1 o'clock, the A&R's on stage from 1 to 2:30, and we have some special guest presenters that have traveled far to be here today with you. Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks, everybody. We'll reconvene at 1 o'clock. So we are now at recess for lunch. Thank you.